I think it's also we're in a little bit of a Goldilocks moment because, not that that's bad or anything, but the economy is still doing very well. Kevin, long time no see.
Yeah. Holidays
Holidays great,
chaotic.
man.
Yeah,
really good. 3.5-year-old, 1 and a few month year old too.
Yeah.
Love Christmas. Presents are good. Kids are good. By yourself.
So what was the most excited for one of the gifts? Like, what was the gift that one of the kids, or maybe you received, that you liked most?
So something surprising was Elodie and Hudson got a mock checkout aisle, and so it's all with there's something that will help roll the items down the lane. There's food items, there's other beverage items, and it took a while to go put together because some of those directions. I mean, this is a really cool thing, but this part goes here, this part goes there, but it really doesn't give like that many worded directions, and so
you get one wrong, and you have to take you have
3
to go
steps
back
apart
10 steps to
And so I was excited for them to go see that, but then they've been so excited as well.
Yeah, good.
And something cool too is that the little dude, and so inside the family we visited, we went south to Lansing, of course, and he was falling in love with our brother-in-law's cat.
Okay.
Loved him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Wow. So is that something in your future? Do you think?
I have no idea. I grew up with 3 cats in my household, so that's yet to be determined. But I know you guys are a cat household. So
we have 2 cats. We love them. I think my family loves the cats just as much, if not more than me.
And you guys have 2?
Yep, 2 cats.
Okay.
Yeah, Bubba and Girl. Is what, they have like 20. They each have like 20 different names, but those are the most common. Yeah,
just super cool cats. It's I think actually, how long have you had Bubba for?
I think it's been like 7 years.
Okay, because I want to say, so once a month, something that's really cool that TriStar does, that we have an employee newsletter, and we have a featured, what's the section called?
Fur
I'm sorry, Lisa, if you're watching. I know Lisa helps put together.
Is it Fur Babies?
Fur Babies, yeah. And I remember seeing Bubba. Yeah. Really cool.
Yeah. He likes to stick his tongue out. So most of the pictures that I get of Hubs, Bubs, Bubba, he's got his tongue out. So, yeah.
Is he looking forward to anything in 2025? You guys get him any cat toys or cat towers?
Oh man, they like the little runs that we have, right? Little tubes. I don't know what you call them.
Sure.
They get in there and they hide. Bubba in particular, he goes like full blast, slides into the thing, and then hides out in there, pretends like he's stalking, and comes flying out when he's ready.
Those ancient traits never go away.
Yeah, right.
The jungle cat.
Yeah.
This might have been domesticated over the last couple hundred years.
Yeah, he keeps Jody awake all night.
Oh, really?
He sleeps on her pillow, and she doesn't want to disturb him, so she'll be all crunched up on the bed, not wanting to disturb Hubs while he's sprawled out, snoring. With his tongue sticking out. Oh yeah, he's snoring too. Yeah.
I feel like it could be made into a meme or go internet famous maybe one day.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. Of course, if allowing, of course, but. With all that being said, I'm more than happy to go talk about cats or our own holiday vacation. But
one more thing we got to talk about.
Let's,
Detroit Lions.
Oh, my goodness.
Right? This is the week. By the time this is out, hopefully, I don't know, the Lions will have won this weekend.
Hopefully so.
So we got Washington this weekend. What do you think?
Feeling good. I saw something online to where the tickets that were being presented for sale, the most expensive non-Super Bowl tickets.
Right. I saw the minimum ticket was $900.
It's a lot of money, but there's a lot of hype and there's a lot of success coming from the team. And so fingers crossed they can do pretty well, help the, not only Detroit out, but then also the NFC North as well, too.
Yeah. No, the NFC North was incredibly strong this year. Of course, we had 3 teams, right? Shocking that it was going to be either the Vikings or the Lions that were going to be 14-3 wild card team, which is pretty. Crazy.
When you think wild card, you think of like 500 or just clipping over 500 a little bit, but 2 really strong teams. Packers are also strong.
Sure.
And I didn't keep that well up with the Bears. I know they didn't have a good season, but I want to say they also weren't like towards the bottom of the league too.
They're better than
they're in the middle.
Their record, I feel like. Yeah. Like they could. Caleb Williams, their quarterback, rookie. Inconsistent, but clearly has a lot of talent.
Well, especially I think he was drafted first overall, so who knows what the future is. But
Hopefully he's not like who was that guy? Russell
Wilson?
No, not
No,
Wilson. There was
okay.
another guy. I can't remember his name, but he was. There's been a few. Ryan Leaf is one that comes to mind immediately. Was it DeMarcus Russell?
DeMarcus Russell.
Yeah, that's his name.
He was with the Raiders for a couple of years.
Yes. Yep. So DeMarcus Russell, Ryan Leaf, those are examples of a couple guys that were taken extremely high and didn't.
Well,
perform.
he had a lot of hype, DeMarcus Russell. He was playing at LSU for a couple of years.
Yep.
I think he was before Matt Flynn, if my memory serves me right. He lit up the scoreboard.
Oh, yeah.
Up and down the field.
Yeah.
So you never know how it can really translate going from college to NFL because, of course, college, all the best players before high school and junior college, and then for the NFL, all the best college players. And so it's just, and when you think about it too, another person laminated as when you think about the 32 teams, so thinking about the starting quarterbacks for each team, those are the 32 theoretical best people who could start anywhere in the world playing in the NFL.
Right.
Crazy when you think about that, 32 people.
Yeah. Yep.
But talking today about finance, of course, we could obviously be a talk show or we can be talk show hosts for sports, but I think we're a little more better suited for finance.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm sure our listeners would agree with that. And so, what's trending in finance, man?
For me, there's
some things that you've been seeing.
There's a few things, right? I think today, right? CPI came out today. Inflation. So I think inflation is clearly it's been a topic of conversation for the past few years. Last year we expected there to be much deeper cuts by the Federal Reserve, or at least many experts believed that we'd have many more cuts than we did. And so this year we roll into the year. Are we going to have any cuts?
Sure.
Are we going to see an increase? Right. I think increase is less likely, but possible. I don't know. What do you think?
I would say very much less likely, at least within my own little crystal ball that I have at my desk for rate hikes. Now, of course, if you were to go take us back to 2024, flip the page back a year, a lot of people towards what you said were expecting a lot of rate cuts. And certainly while we had rate cuts, going from January to December, there's a lot of things that can go happen from point A to point B. Now, that trajectory, especially from a long-term perspective, is what we're seeing. But I think it's also, we're in a little bit of a Goldilocks moment because, not that that's bad or anything, but the economy is still doing very well. And so, of course, you're really trying to have that counterbalance moment because you don't want something bad to necessarily happen and possibly cut too much. And so it's I know, figuratively speaking, it's like, oh, how hard can it be? Do you want to increase rates or do you want to decrease rates? But I'm happy to be the one not making.
Yeah, right. And they're going to be very cautious in making that decision, right?
Sure.
I mean, I think the good inflation came out, I think higher than expected today. But at the same time, banks and financial services companies reported record profits.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So like you said, economy's performing well. I think what, the cost of goods has just become so high, right? And it's not necessarily inflation. It's just that the price of goods a couple of years ago, because of inflation, became so much more expensive, right?
Of course.
And now they're still growing, but they're growing at a much accelerated price. So it feels like inflation, but it's elevated prices. And that's kind of the new normal.
Going back to your point, how that inflation number is commonly looked at as on a year-over-year basis.
Right.
And so when you think about 2024 to 2023, when we were in last year, for instance, that 2.5%, 3% doesn't seem as much, but exactly towards what you mentioned, we unfortunately had that inflation towards the earlier parts. And so, for instance, my family just bought a car. And so I'm thinking about when I last bought a car was in 2021 for my own car, my own Ford Explorer. Much different. Much different car buying experience. So, of course, there wasn't as much of a shortage within crucial chips and everything else like that associated with it. But prices have gone up, especially or thinking about at the whether you're at the drive-through line, whether you're at Culver's getting some ice cream, or you're at the grocery store, things are unfortunately up a little bit. So I think unfortunately I shouldn't say unfortunately, I think it's around here to stay because if you think about what would have to happen in order for prices to go back to pre-COVID levels, that's a lot of stuff, and you're going down a pretty dark avenue.
Absolutely, we need a deflation, right? Which could be equally as bad, if not worse, right?
And I think it's worth noting too that some inflation is definitely good.
Oh yeah,
that's sign of a growing and healthy economy. It's of course when it starts growing at a larger exponential rate to where you just don't want it to end up in the double or even the triple digit area.
And that's, what we're experiencing now. It goes back to 2022 and the inflation that we had, topping out at over 9% back in June of 22.
9.1%.
Yeah, now we're growing from that clip. It's not as if it went up 9%, then back to normal, and now is growing at 2.9. It's growing 2.9 from 9.1. So,
and of course, some of those things take a little bit longer to make and kind of shake their way out a little bit, because if you think about, there's a lot of components. I mean, think about a bucket. There's a lot of items that you go put in the bucket that is that overall inflation number. You know, whether it's, you think about CPI, PPI, or any of those other three-letter what do you call it, inflationary terms. There's a lot of things that get factored into it, and some things are more easily moved. And so think about gas prices.
Right.
I mean, June of 2021, I'm paying $5.50 a gallon to go fill up my car.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I paid $2.79 at Costco.
Yeah.
So
fantastic.
I'm feeling great.
Yeah.
I'm feeling great. But of course, there's naturally some other things over that time horizon too that have gone up. And so auto insurance is one.
Sure.
Now, that's nothing against auto insurance, because that was just a confluence of cars costing more and repairs costing more as well. So naturally, that cost is going to catch up with us.
Yeah. Shelter's the big one for me.
Oh,
right?
sure.
And so when I think about inflation and something where there's a new normal when it comes to prices and whatnot, and how the Federal Reserve is going to have a big impact this year on real estate, right? I'm reading that, we might see the 10-year Treasury go over 5%, and that obviously has a direct impact on 30-year mortgage rates. So, which in turn was going to have an impact on the real estate market. So, I'm reading some positive predictions for the real estate market, that they think new home construction is going to be up significantly. They see new home sales will be up significantly this year. Of course, this being January, very early in the year. But if rates remain high like they are, I think that's kind of an optimistic view.
Yeah, and I think part of at least trying to be a little more optimistic around more home sales happening, more home activity happening. Unfortunately, not as much this time of year, just because it's a little bit colder, a little bit harder to go move, kids in school, so on and so forth. But eventually, with these higher rates, I mean, if you think back, 2% and 3% mortgages, that's very much abnormal. Very abnormal. I mean, I think the first mortgage I had on my house is 4.625.
Sure.
Before I refi down to the low threes.
Yep.
And I know even before then, people were taking out mortgages for 8, 9, 10%, double digits too. So,
well, I think I probably talked about this before, because I scream at on mountaintops, but I have a 30-year mortgage at 2.375%.
That's amazing.
Getting me to make a change is going to be really difficult. Sorry, Jody. I know you'd maybe like to do something different with the home, but I mean, it's going to be challenging. And I think that's where a lot of folks, and similar to what you said, having a mortgage in the threes, it makes it tough to make that decision, to make a move. And you might consider, refurbishing or making some improvements to your current home as opposed to going new. So,
within that sense, I mean, imagine a very common thing that people might want to go move for is just having more space. And so for them, is it worth the time, the effort, the costs that are associated with finding a new home, listing it, trying to go apply for a new loan, have bridge financing possibly, or maybe it's finishing out that basement, adding a bedroom. I mean, I know trying to find labor is still, relatively tough.
Oh yeah. And the
a little bit challenging.
The cost of labor is very expensive. The other thing we haven't talked about are the wildfires in California, and just the impact that that's going to have. Yeah, first of all, our condolences out to those folks, and our prayers out to them as well. But it's going to have an impact on a lot of different things, and I think shelter costs could be one right off the bat, right? Because there's going to be a tremendous need for supply, tremendous demand, which could have the unfortunate circumstance of increasing the cost of goods for new home construction.
And I think it's also going to reverberate so much more than just being a West Coast thing. Because if you think about it from a supply perspective, you're talking about tens and thousands of homes that, of course, as an economy, especially within housing, we are building new housing stock every single year, but that's not also accounting for a massive loss of homes. And so not only is that more supply being diverted, but then that's also more labor that's probably going to be diverted. But that's not necessarily a bad thing for the right reasons, of course, to get those communities back up and running. But of course, that could also impact people, even here in Michigan. I wouldn't be surprised if there's crews from Michigan saying, I really want to help out with this cause. I really want to help out other people in our nation. So
And
Let's
there's
go.
opportunity,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
just there's going to be a lot of folks that are going to head out west and set up shop because, I mean, they're going to need the reconstruction of those communities is going to be significant.
Immense.
Yeah.
I think next 5-10 years.
And so to that point, right, what is that going to do to prices across the country, right? Our crews going to be navigating their way out west to help with those efforts, in which case they're taking away from those crews here locally.
Yeah.
And I know that those trades are already, the capacities
far
are
stretched.
diminished significantly. So, yeah. Could lead to a lot of changes. And then we talk about insurance, right? We know last year was a big increase for auto insurance. Folks have also seen pretty significant increases in home insurance.
Yeah.
And they're not going to be able to just apply all of that premium increase to folks in California. They're going to have to spread that out across the country, right?
And it's going to be unfortunate, too, because I could see a scenario happening to where there is going to be less insurers within the state of California, too, because they take a look at the climate risk that's associated with the state. Unfortunately, there's probably going to be more people pulling out. Now, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm really wrong on that prediction, because in a free market, when there's more participants, especially from the supply side, that obviously helps out balance out consumers and costs associated with it, too. But as of this morning, I saw a cost estimate. And so what was really interesting is that the cost estimate right now is anywhere between $250 billion to $275 billion of total damages.
Wow.
But what's interesting is that there's a parallel that was drawn between this and what Katrina in 2005, Hurricane Katrina would have caused or did cause. And on an inflation-adjusted basis, that was $200 billion.
Wow.
And so it really shows the scope. Oh, already bigger. So it really shows the scope that.
And it may not be. It doesn't look like it's over with.
No, unfortunately. I mean, I hope it's over with. But
right.
Unfortunately, it looks like there's a more bad wind on the forecast. And of course, the wind can carry those embers for God knows how long.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so definitely going to present some challenges as we go forward. So moving along.
Let's get a happier topic.
Yeah, what other topics are you thinking about or reading about?
So I think one of the really cool things about 2025 is this continued rollout of artificial intelligence in our day-to-day lives. Because I think one of the best things, I mean, if you just go simplify it down, why people like it so much, it's the ease of use, and it's how much friction that it can eliminate around certain other things in your lives too. Because before, what was a Google search, scrolling down, finding the article, find the information. Now within Google itself, I mean, there's information that's already synthesized for you. And so it's already right there. Or scrolling over to ChatGPT. Yeah. It's got a lot of information. Now, what I will say is that it's still in the building blocks and infancy. So of course you always want to still, if it doesn't sound right, you know, there's probably still a good chance that it is right, but you always want to, with anything on the internet,
read it, reread it, check the sources. I think it's in its infancy, which is pretty amazing because it's already having big impacts across the globe. But I think it really is at a starting point. A couple of things. I did a little bit of research and reading on AI before we visited today. A couple of things I was aware of, not sure if you were, but OpenAI, who owns ChatGPT, Sam Altman, who's the CEO and president, he earns $76,000 a year and has no equity stake in OpenAI. I thought that was really interesting. I watched an interview, Eric Schmidt from Google, the former Google CEO. He was quoted as saying that AI will have an impact on the world that no one understands yet, and really likened it a bit to the invention of electricity. Sure. Right? So it's going to have a significant impact in a lot of different ways. We're going to continue to see that develop. I don't think that like 2025 is going to. We're going to see it develop and improve.
Oh, it's going to be a slower rollout than obviously what people can expect. But I think for what can ultimately be done with the technology is just limitless, and it really extends further out than technology, of course. And so I've seen a lot of really cool, interesting applications, even going over to healthcare, going over to real estate, and I wouldn't for people out there that could be, fearful, hey, what are the robots, going to go up to next? It's really just another way, to help amplify your own life and really think about, what things can AI help me go do? With anything, something new is definitely scary, but I popped over. I remember hearing all the stuff about ChatGPT. And so, I waited a month or two and then I'm like, you know what? I might as well just kind of go into this and see what this can help me out with and
adopt it.
It's super cool. And just what it's able to go do as well is just mind-boggling.
Oh, yeah. I do think its impact is going to be significant, and so I think folks, it will certainly have an impact on us, but in particular, it's going to have a really big impact on younger generations.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And so, people really, I don't know if, obviously you've heard of STEM, right? The acronym STEM. One of the things you'd often hear about in the arts community was STEAM, right? So
Okay.
adding the A into STEM, which is the arts. And I think that's going to be more and more important as we go forward, because while science, technology, engineering, and math are always going to have a place and they're going to be important, AI is going to be able to handle some of the, particularly now, probably more of the menial type task. But as it continues to improve, it's going to get better and better. And that's where the arts are really going to step in, and where creative writing is going to become more valuable. Just the arts in general, filmmaking, production, things of that nature. And another one would be other emotionally intelligent jobs, such as like therapy, counseling, teaching. Those are going to be the kind of careers that will continue to exist and thrive into the future. The other one would be the trades.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe in a strange way, this is going to be great for housing, for shelter, right?
I can imagine.
Because it is going to drive, obviously AI, at least I can't imagine, like building a house, framing out a home, or, acting as an electrician or plumber.
Sure.
And as we already know, those folks are doing very well, and there's a demand there. So hopefully there will be a trend back to the trades a bit.
No, it certainly could help so, because it can really help balance out a lot of the need that's currently out there inside the community as well, whether it's for more housing, more other related projects as well. But then you also just go think about other buildings, whether it's associated with a business or housing or so on and so forth. I mean, it's all critical pieces of our infrastructure.
Sure.
Especially as a nation, I'm sure there's been, here within Michigan, think about all the aging road infrastructure, bridge infrastructure, or what's unfortunate about our own area was the aging infrastructure with the Sanford dams.
Oh, absolutely.
I think they're over 90, 100 years old, unfortunately, when they burst. Was that right?
Unregulated, right? I mean, it's a big problem. Yeah. Of course, they're dealing with that now. So based on what we've talked about, right, with artificial intelligence, what are some sectors that you think? I mean, I think obviously technology we're talking about already.
Sure.
But energy is a big one too. And when you sort of couple, they kind of go hand in hand. Cryptocurrencies, AI, when it comes to energy, seems like a great. Not that we would ever suggest someone, sector invest or in particular.
Do your own research.
Yeah, exactly. But it requires a lot of energy to run AI and to. I don't understand crypto well enough to really speak about it, but I know that it requires a lot of energy.
Of course, going exactly to your point, what you're seeing is a lot of these large technology firms, artificial intelligence companies, they need more power.
Right.
And how do you go generate more of that power? So, of course, there's a dirty way. I don't mean dirty in a bad way, of course, but that's oil, coal, natural gas, or possibly more of a cleaner way.
Right.
So nuclear energy, solar, wind. And so if you think about, there's a lot of aging infrastructure around our country that was built in the 50s and 60s, possibly the early 70s with nuclear power.
Right.
And so what's interesting is that there's almost been a little bit of a renaissance.
Oh, yeah.
Happening across our nation. What's interesting too is that what got a lot of news earlier in 2024 was around, is it of course, I'm thinking of the Palisades, California wildfire, but in the southwest part of Michigan, there is a former nuclear power plant that was decommissioned, is actually being brought back online.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's the first of its kind ever. And so just to be able to go see the revival of that, or thinking over back to New Jersey. And so one of the reactors on 3 Mile Island is actually being reactivated for Microsoft.
Exactly.
To really help power all their energy needs. And when you go think about how renewable that energy is, how clean that energy is as well, it's almost serving a dual front, because not only could it help fulfill this artificial technology gap, but then going forward into the future, they're not just going to go restart this for 3 years or 5 years. This is a 10, 15, 20, 25-year commitment.
Yep.
Because before those reactors were shut down, those 2 reactors were powering enough power for over 800,000 homes.
Yeah. Wow.
Insane.
I tell you, one thing I read about, an article that I also read about, was putting reactors in space. Have you read about
Really?
this at all?
No idea.
Yeah.
No.
And obviously, one of the big benefits to that is that these reactors run very hot, and that in space is very cold.
Space is cold. Yeah.
So they can run very efficiently in space. I have no idea how that works, how the energy gets from space down to Earth.
I can imagine
but
there's a
thought
lot
that
of
was interesting.
space up there to kind of have things sparse out a little bit.
Sure. Yeah.
Then catch a dad joke. That's fine.
Okay. Yeah. So crypto, Bitcoin. We've seen that a lot in the news lately, of course, as 2024 closed out, really gained momentum, right? And while Donald Trump was on the election trail, I watched a video of him where he stated that he wants the U.S. to become the national crypto capital of the world. And I thought it was really interesting. The Fair Shake PAC, right, which is run by the Coinbase CEO, they raised about $135 million for
Really?
their PAC. And they had a almost 70% success rate in the people that they funded getting into office. So there's an incredibly pro-crypto legislature out there right now, and that's only going to continue to grow and increase. So curious to know what you think about crypto as we go forward.
No, still very excited about crypto, where that whole asset class can go into the future. What I think is interesting is when it was first brought, I shouldn't say first brought on the market, because I think Bitcoin was officially invented, in quotations, back in 2009. Please don't get mad at me, crypto bros, if you're listening out there. But that's when the idea was originally incepted. And so since that point in time, when it really came to prominence back in 2017, it was really labeled as cryptocurrency. But of course, there's been a couple of experiments with the currency part. It's a little bit harder to implement, of course, with the fluctuating value that it has. But it's really caught fire in 2024. Not only Bitcoin, but then Dogecoin and lots of other related crypto coins as well. But it's another interesting asset class that's new. Yeah, it's innovative, and it's gaining a lot of steam out there.
Do you think it's a coincidence that Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are a part of the Doge office now, the Department of Government Efficiency? Do you think that was a coincidence, or is there something to that? Just your opinion.
I think the former.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Absolutely.
I think the former. I think I would actually like to know if he is personally invested in Dogecoin. I have no idea.
This
if he
is
or not.
Elon?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know that back in when Doge went off, was that in 2020 or 21? Yeah. He was a big proponent of Doge, and he was one of the main. He kept tweeting out before he owned Twitter or X. Doge to the moon.
It coincided with him going on SNL. Do you remember those couple skits?
Yeah, because that's when it peaked.
Oh, really?
It peaked at that SNL
I had no
episode.
idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess it's all coming back now.
70, I don't know, maybe somewhere between 70 and 80 cents at that point. And then it went back down to 6, 7 cents back to where it was previously. Now it's back up. Last I looked, I don't know, it was in the 30 to 35 cent mark. But there certainly seems to be a lot of optimism around crypto. For me, I think its real value is in the blockchain, and it's particularly when it comes to fraud. Whether it's emails that you're getting or text messages that you're getting, there's no shortage of scammers out there that are trying to steal your information, get into your bank accounts, get their hands on your money. And so I think, at least from what I've read, that's where that blockchain can be really helpful and cut down on fraud.
Oh, sure. No, I've seen so many use cases for not only that, but then fraud applications and so many other things too. So it has me excited for 2025 and 6. And as more people are starting to go into the asset class as well, I think there's just becoming more broad acceptance, because this past year in 2024, again, not investment advice, do your own research, but there is a first Bitcoin ETF that was released last year too. And to my knowledge, it had, I think it was in the top 5 or even maybe in the top 3 for incoming flows or people wanting to invest money into it.
Absolutely. I think it's an exciting asset class. I wouldn't invest too much in it, right? Do your research, as Will has stated a couple times. It seems that there's something there, right? It's hard to know exactly what it is, and it's hard to know exactly what's going to really get grounded and be foundational in the future. But something will be. The other consideration there is, again, back to energy, kind of mining the miner, right? So that that there's going to be a need for energy into the future. So maybe rather than taking a bet on which cryptocurrency or what application is going to take off, maybe it's safer to take a bet on some of the industries that are going to serve that industry, such as electricity or energy. Yep.
Very interesting. And so I do know something that we can be and that we need to be definitive on, though, Kevin, is that because we've gotten some listener feedback.
Yep.
They want to know for how often we talk about movies and shows, what our top picks were for 2024. So audience today, especially the individual who reached out, it is your treat today.
Yep.
So Kevin, you go with your movie, I'll go with my movie, then I'll go with my show.
So
vice versa.
Movie, we talked a little bit about this. I had 2024. I personally didn't think it was a great year for film. But one movie that I really liked was Late Night with the Devil.
Okay.
Have you seen it?
No, I've not.
Yeah, it's super unique. The way that it's shot, it really all takes place in a late show studio. And I just thought it was a really interesting the way that it was shot. Very unique. And really like that one. How about yourself?
I'm going to go with a contrarian take. And so Kevin Costner, Horizon, an American Saga.
Sure.
So I know there were some groans around the first episode.
Yeah.
Okay. However, I started to think about this a little bit further, and I think back to some of the other great movies and things that he's been a part of, whether it's Yellowstone, whether it's Dances with Wolves going all the way back to the 1990s. And I know that he's an amazing, colorful, great storyteller. And so that's my contrarian take. I am positive, so people can fact check me later this year when hopefully episode 2 comes out. I think it's later in 25. That it will get better.
Yeah, no, I watched it twice. And I think to what I'm hoping for that movie, I did like it. Because it's an episode, right?
Sure.
There was a lot of storylines that were a little bit confusing.
Yeah.
Because they're probably going to, but I'm sure they're going to circle back to those storylines with this second episode.
I think, too, with America, we will get, think about when a new series drops.
Sure.
You can go from episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can binge watch that stuff all day, all night, but you might have to go wait 3 months for the movie. So I think excited. That's where I think it can go. So, all right.
Shows. I'm going to land on one show. Hopefully we didn't pick the same thing.
I'm positive we didn't.
Landman.
Okay.
I really like Landman. I think Billy Bob Thornton is excellent.
So good.
The ladies in the show have me a little bit. I don't love that plot line right now, his wife and daughter. But I think otherwise, being on the patch, right? It's like a man's show, right? I think we all, I don't know about you, but I can't wait to go desire to go get on the patch, right? And
I can't wait to go see where Demi Moore is going to go take this. Again, not trying to spoil anything when I say this, but I'm going to go say I can't wait to go see where she can take the series going into season 2.
Yeah, right.
I'm really excited for her role.
And there's obviously some, not to give it away, there's some important changes that are taking place as the series ends this season.
That's the first way to say it.
Her plot line is going to change and probably increase.
Oh, yeah. So I didn't pick Landman. That was in my top 5.
Sure.
But my top one going all the way back to the early part of 2024 is Shogun.
Oh, yeah.
That has left such a good mark on myself. And I think it's just something that you really don't see every single day.
Yeah.
Especially for the storytelling. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was originally supposed to be 1 season. And now they've actually greenlit season 2.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's true. I haven't watched it. I probably should. I know you really enjoy it.
It's on Disney now, believe it or not.
Okay. Now, taking it a step further, and I'm not sure you prepared for this at all. 2025.
Okay.
Is there a show and or movie that you're really looking forward to?
Oh, that's easy. Last of Us, part 2, or season 2.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's coming out, I think, the early part of 25 or this year.
Yep.
I can't wait for it.
Yeah. For me, Severance. Season 2.
Yeah.
Did you watch season 1 of that?
No, it's on my watch list.
Yeah. So really good. And then movies, I got to go with Tron. There's a new Tron coming out this year. I don't know if you've watched any of the former Tron movies.
I haven't, no.
They're really cool. Yeah. So any movie in particular that you're looking forward to?
I think just episode 2 of the American Saga. So I'm looking forward to that. And then I don't know when the Mandalorian movie's supposed to come out.
Oh, okay.
With Baby Gorgu, of course. Maybe that's 25?
Yeah.
I could be getting that really wrong. Yeah. And I'm sorry if I am. Maybe it's 2026.
Yeah. Good.
Well, with all that being said, thank you again, everyone, for listening to another great episode of Mitten Money.